Coming up next on Tech News Today, how will lawmakers regulate autonomous cars going forward? Also, new features for Facebook's safety check. Google helps you back up your computer to the cloud. The best home theater stuff for dads, and a whole lot more coming up next on Tech News Today.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for Tech News Today is provided by CacheFly at CACHEFLY.com.
This is Tech News Today, episode 1789, recorded Wednesday, June 14th, 2017. This episode of Tech News Today is brought to you by Blue Apron, the #1 fresh ingredient and recipe delivery service in the country. See what's on the menu this week and get 3 meals free with your first purchase and free shipping by going to blueapron.com/TNT.
Welcome to Tech News Today. This is the show where we tell you what you need to know about technology today. I'm Megan Maroney.
I'm Jason Howell. How's it going, Megan?
It's going good. You're back. You were out on some health leave.
Yeah, vertigo. I don't know if anyone else out there has had vertigo, but let's just say I'm really happy to be upright and not laying down.
I'm wondering,
it was intense.
Did anyone ask if you got the vertigo from just being so tall?
No, but I had plenty of comments about how vertigo is especially bad for someone as tall as I am.
Yeah.
Because you got a long way to fall if you fall, which you probably will if you try and walk while you're experiencing vertigo. Stop it, Brian. Stop it with the rotating of the screen, I swear.
But
okay.
Nobody, but it wasn't caused by being up high.
No, I think it was it was probably a viral thing. Who knows?
Okay.
That's the weird thing about vertigo. You don't really know why it happened. It can happen from stress. It can happen for a number of reasons.
All right. Well, let's just be relaxed.
Move on.
Let's relax into the tech news today.
Chakra or whatever you call it.
Lawmakers on Capitol Hill have announced plans to draft new federal legislation for self-driving cars. Facing increasing pressure from car makers, senators, and representatives are compiling a legislative package on autonomous technology that we could see as early as this summer. Companies like Uber, Waymo, and others are now depending on various state-level regulations for testing, but many would like a common regulatory framework. David McCabe from Axios says members of the Senate Commerce, Science, and Transportation Committees from the left and from the right are not only concerned with the safety of driverless cars on the road, but also how much data they're collecting and how the companies plan to keep that data safe. I say we're going to relax into the tech news, but this is kind of stressful. Of course, 30,000 annual traffic fatalities a year. So no one is arguing that that self-driving cars will probably eventually be safer. But we have a while to get there. And lawmakers say that the test cars need to accrue more miles before they feel like they can really create any regulations. So this bill is designed to propose safety, to prioritize safety, reduce roadblocks, no pun intended, and remain tech neutral while also strengthening cybersecurity. It's a lot to ask from the robot car.
Tech neutral. What does it mean to be tech neutral? I mean, it's full of tech.
Tech, like, not be like Waymo's cars are better.
Oh,
I
see. I see. Not
than
yeah.
Uber's cars. Like, to stay out of the bill won't say, not like one kind of self-driving technology is better than the other.
Yeah, because they're all approaching it from very different perspectives. The FTC and NHTSA are holding a policy workshop apparently at the end of June. They're focusing there on cybersecurity, data integrity, around aspects of autonomous car future, things that you're talking about with all this data and information. It reminded me of a conversation that we had a few weeks ago, I guess it was last week on This Week in Google, about a Pew report that was targeting IoT, the Internet of Things, but just about the fact that the future, like where we're heading in everything right now, is so intertwined with technology in a number of different ways. IoT, is apparently going to be proliferated to the point where so many things in your house, whether you want it to or not, are connected to the internet, generating data points. Cars are generating all these data points, whether you want to or not. You're going to be surrounded by all of these things that are logging and capturing all this information about everything that you do, if we're not already, because we have phones in our pockets already doing that as well. So, yeah, I mean, there has to be some sort of attention to how you secure all of this information, let alone who holds the key to all that information, because that's an incredible amount of power to be just handed over simply by existing in this world.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, you don't have to. You could go to the woods, go all Thoreau on this world, and live deliberately.
I suppose we have a choice to make, don't we?
We don't really. I mean,
we either live life the way we're used to living, or we go to the woods,
right?
And we live there.
I think that everyone listening or watching this has made their choice. We've all made our choices.
Yeah. Yeah. What about this Facebook's safety check feature? This is no new news anyways. It was designed to let those who are close to a natural disaster check in so those outside of the area know that their loved ones are okay and accounted for. Well, Facebook's taking the feature a few steps further by including a new feature in it to allow for fundraising related to the disaster that's happening. A user would have the option to either collect for a registered nonprofit. So let's say, hey, I'm fine, but if you want to help, you can donate to this cause, or for personal fundraising to help out during a difficult time. There will be human moderators involved on Facebook's side that will review each of those before they actually go live, to obviously to ensure that everything is on the up and up, but kind of just a way to expand Facebook's actually existing fundraising capabilities and tie it into safety check when something is actually happening. And maybe, there can be a direct kind of giving from people who are concerned, a direct line to give to those causes.
I think this is great. When I used to work for Microsoft, I worked for the trustworthy computing team, and part of what we did was anytime there was a natural disaster, any kind of disaster, we would warn people to be careful of giving, because that's when everyone came out with their hoaxes. Right after anything, it's horrible. Like people in general are horrible. Some people are, not all people. But after there's a disaster, there would inevitably be like phishing scams, people sending, "Oh, here, donate to this cause." And so this is nice that it's checked and validated by Facebook. It's good that you can just set it up that way. If it's someone on Facebook just asking for money, we've talked about this, tips for how you can tell if someone really is on the up and up, raising money for themselves for an issue. If it's a Facebook friend of yours, then you already have that. You already know, oh, okay, like I know this person, I'm going to donate to them. So through Facebook, I like that.
Or you think you know that person.
Well, it depends. I mean, sure, there's a lot of people that I am connected to on Facebook that I wouldn't necessarily know for sure but with Safety Check, that there has been a disaster. You don't necessarily know that they're in need or not. Right,
but you also know, at least based on what Facebook is saying here, is that they have a team on the other side that's kind of verifying a lot of this stuff. Even in the case of GoFundMe, learned this earlier on This Week in Google today, that half of all the campaigns in GoFundMe are around raising money for medical campaigns. All of that is validated on the back end. So you see a lot of these things, and it's easy to jump to the conclusion of, oh, well, they're just taking advantage, or they're taking, whatever. But there's always that human moderator. There has to be on the other side of it, moderating that. So thankfully they do. Facebook in this case does take a cut. They take 6.9% plus 30 cents per donation for associated fees, vetting, security costs associated with doing that. But and there's no way to trigger this without Safety Check already in place. So there's no way for someone to just be like, yeah, this thing happened, totally, you should give, you know what I mean? Like it has to be assigned to a certain event. But you can do a fundraiser from your Facebook page. I suppose there's that outside
Anybody
of this,
can do a fundraiser from their page, but I don't know if you can do a fundraiser for yourself from your
that's
page.
A good question.
But I know there is the fundraising, but I would assume that you'd be able to. Safety Check's been used more than 1 billion times since 2014. That's a lot.
Yeah, it's more and more. And actually, this is kind of an interesting kind of side note story. TechCrunch has a piece today about the, quote, paradoxical panic that Safety Check risks inducing upon its users by pushing those who aren't anywhere near a disaster to check in so their friends know that they're safe. And to kind of like a greater extent, the author here posits that Facebook has in turn flipped societal norms to where no one can feel like their loved ones are safe unless they happen to remember to check Facebook's safe box during a disaster. And, you know, kind of extending that further, does that kind of induce undue panic and stress on Facebook users? Is it being used appropriately? I guess that's the main question. In the case of the London high-rise fire that happened last night or today, depending on where you are, 120 flats in total, yet there were people that were as far as 8 miles away who were prompted to check in. And it's like, okay, so you're prompted to check in. You're nowhere near this thing. It's almost creating this greater perception of the spread of impact and panic. Not saying that it's not worth that attention, but is it being implemented appropriately, or is the way that it's being implemented creating more stress and panic in the people that see it? Yeah.
I read this, and I think that Facebook doing this is just one in many ways in which technology causes panic. Mm-hmm. Like, you know, when my daughter hasn't texted me back in 4 hours, like, oh, there's something must be wrong, where I was gone, you know, for days, and my parents wouldn't know where I was, and they wouldn't, you know, they had no way. You know, like I took the Greyhound bus from LA to Houston. I had no cell phone, nothing. Maybe they were worried, but they weren't in a constant state of panic because I wasn't texting them back because I had no way to text them back, you know? So I think that there's that. I also think that, I mean, that started hundreds of years ago. You know, we used to not have news. We used to, you know, people, you know, used to have no idea what was going on in the crazy cities. I mean, that's part of how our country has evolved, where we start to see more, know more, use technology to see things and hear about things we didn't hear about before. So I do think that, yes, Facebook is causing some kind of paradoxical panic, but I think so does cell phones, so did television, so did the, you know, telegrams. Everything has been just creating more panic. And so that we all end up with vertigo.
That's no fun for anyone.
Google, more panic here, is sneaking its way into more of our personal files. Google Drive will soon be able to back up your entire computer. The company announced a new file management and storage solution that syncs not just the files you create and upload using Google Docs and Google Photos, but all your files, wherever you keep them on your PC. Starting on June 28th, the tool will be able to completely recreate your desktop folder system in Drive so it's accessible everywhere. You don't have to turn this on, and you can turn it off if you want to. Business class G Suite customers will get this capability later this year. So just to note on our never-ending discussion of cloud services, free storage, I was wondering, is Google going to do this, charge more for storage? So, I mean, if you're backing up your entire PC, 100 gigabytes is $20 a year. Yeah. 1 terabyte is $100 a year. And if you want 20 terabytes, that's only $300 a month.
Oh, is that all?
Yeah, 20 terabytes.
Okay, about $4,000 a year. 20
terabytes is a lot of stuff.
Well, I mean, yeah. Let me think about how much data I actually have to back up at my house. Just guessing, it's probably somewhere around 6 terabytes.
Really?
Maybe. Whoa. Yeah. Well, I mean, audio projects take up a lot of space, and actually, that would be one of the main things that I would want to back up, and that's just my computer, let alone my wife's laptop and all this kind of stuff. So it adds up really quick. So yeah, that would be expensive. At the same time, I love that they're at least allowing you to do this. I feel like a terabyte for $100 a year, you know, less than $10 a month, you know, for some sort of an easy backup if you had an idea of things that were the most important things out of your stuff and you just want to make sure that you have offsite storage of that. Yeah, it's not too bad. I'm sure there are backup solutions, though, that are comparable, if not better, you know, in a more bulk method. But if you like keeping your things in Google's universe, hey, there you go.
Well, it's easy too, right? I mean, already you can put all your stuff in Drive. You just have to manually move it to the Google Drive folder. And like Dropbox, you have to manually move it and sync the folder. But now it's just like as easy and seamless as Google Photos. You doop, and then you never have to think about it. So that's, because I mean, how much does a terabyte drive cost? Like a hardware, like one-time purchase of a terabyte drive. Anyone?
Not that expensive nowadays. I mean, depending on whether you're getting solid state or you know, just a standard.
Under $300
for a terabyte. Oh yeah, less than 300. Yeah. Yeah, an SSD. I mean, you're talking probably like 100, depending. 100,
PC Guy 8088 says $100.
Yeah,
So does Bleak.
I'd say $100.
So
180 if you're doing SSD, and you can always get deals on those.
So you're paying for convenience and offsite storage here.
Absolutely. I mean, what is backup if it's all in the same house that you live? It's just as taking that as an example. You have a house fire. You didn't actually have a backup. You just had 2 drives in the same house that went up in flames. So offsite storage is what it's all about when you're talking about true backup. Something out there, anyways. So yeah, worth checking out. Google's looking to take its smartphone hardware production in more of a vertical direction, and it's hired an Apple chip architect to aid in its own production of chips for the Pixel line, apparently. Manu Gulati, an 8-year veteran at Apple that helped lead the company's efforts in developing its own chips, has transitioned to Google to be its lead SoC, or system on a chip, architect, according to his LinkedIn profile. Google has long been rumored to move in this direction, and it looks like they may now have just the person to make it a reality. They've also got some job postings that are looking in this direction, but Gulati brings with him 27 years of industry experience, 15 years at AMD, Broadcom, before his 8 years at Apple, and he was really one of the lead architects around Apple's move to their own A4 chips in the iPad in 2010 and beyond. So he's the right person to do it. It really seems like a shifting of gears in Google, kind of bringing more things in-house.
Yeah, they want to hire, more engineers in general. I mean, people make fun of Apple that they want to so tightly control everything, but this seems to be where the Pixel hardware is headed. Create their own chips. And they can't just be faster now. They have to be smarter, those chips, too, because they have to have machine learning on them. And I think that this is great because there aren't a lot of people like Gulati out there. Apple has 15 chip-related patents with his name on it, so that's a lot. So that's a big switch.
Yeah, I think that's what a lot of what this is about, is that Qualcomm is powering so many of the Android devices out there, and that's great. Qualcomm Snapdragon processors are in everything for a very good reason. They're very good at what they do. It also brings with them a very similar kind of functionality data set. That all phones are very similar in many ways as a result, based on what that SoC can do. Google can get in there and really customize things. They've shown already with the Pixel line that they aren't afraid of competing with the partners that also are on Android, that they feel like there is room for them to differentiate themselves. And if they bring someone in and really customize the SoC and the chip that they're putting into their devices, they can do onboard stuff that some of the competitors can't do, and keep it, make it a little bit more googly as a result. Bring some of that AI, crunching on the device with TensorFlow Lite, have that tie into the chip itself that they created, and they can do unique stuff. So I think it's a good move for Google to do that, for sure.
Instagram will now give creators tools to make it easier to be transparent when one of your posts is sponsored. The new paid partnership tag on posts and stories will allow Instagrammers to track the reach of their posts, presumably to keeping those creators from going to other social networks to get paid to hawk other people's stuff. And businesses will see shared reach and engagement metrics, presumably so they can decide who to keep paying to promote their stuff. A standardized format will also likely please the FTC, who's been cracking down lately on posts they've been paid for, but not clearly marked as an ad. A new report from marketing firm Media Kick said 93% of posts promoting a brand did not meet the standards put forth by the Federal Trade Commission. I think this is a great move for Instagram. They're not going to punish people who don't use it yet. They said they're going to come up with like a guidelines in the next few months based on Facebook's guidelines. But this is much needed. I mean, I'm nothing against advertising. We are ad supported, and we clearly say now we're going to take a minute to thank our sponsor, and then we thank our sponsor, and then we go back. But I mean, this has been going on before Instagram with blogs. It's just it's so annoying. It's part of why I stopped blogging a decade ago. I've started a little bit back, but people would always say can you, and they do now too, can I pay you to write about my product?
Right.
Can I, can I send you all this free stuff so that you will write about it? And it's so, and I hate not knowing when I go out to a blog whether someone has genuinely, they really like something, or they've been sent it. And it's interesting because like even my kids know, like when they're watching YouTube videos, like I've heard them arguing about it, like they want something and then the other one will be like, I bet that got, you know, that they got sent that remote control plane. That's why they're saying it's great. You know, so I think it's already, kids understand it younger and younger, but I'm glad that Instagram is doing this. It's for their own benefit too. I mean, they want to keep creators, they want to keep advertisers. They would probably want advertisers to go to them rather than to go to the Instagrammer, you know, and pay them. They'd probably rather have them pay.
Yeah, but I mean, a lot of people are you know, making their livelihoods on Instagram as a platform as creators. So you know, they definitely want that as well. Like I have no problem with people getting these getting products or being paid to say certain things as long as they make sure that it's explicit to the people on the other end that that actually happening. Fire Festival is a prime example of that, right? Fire Festival was built largely on the Instagram, you know, the opinions of very, you know, high up influencers on Instagram. And many of them, the people that actually went, were under the impression that, oh, she's going to be there. That's why she's, you know, tweeting that out. And of course, a lot of that didn't happen because there was no real delineation between reality and, you know, being paid to say something. But the FTC apparently sent out letters to 90 different influencers back in April, basically warning them about this very thing. Be clear, you know, conspicuously disclosing their sponsored status and not hiding them behind things, or, you know, like having that information hidden behind a more button, or having a hashtag in a roll call be the way that you pointed out. Be very specific. So embedding it into Instagram as part of the platform, I think, is the way to go. It makes it removes any of the ambiguity in it. So good work there. Quick reminder that you can comment on anything that we discuss, and we hope that you will. Email us, tnt@twit.tv. And, of course, you can subscribe to Tech News Today by going to our show page at twit.tv/TNT. Up next, Father's Day, I heard, is right around the corner. We've enlisted the help of a home theater geek to share some thoughts on what makes a great gift. But first, let's take a minute to thank Blue Apron. They're the sponsor of this episode. Fresh, high-quality ingredients, that's what makes a real difference. So it's important to know where your food comes from. Blue Apron sets the highest quality standards for their community of over 150 local farms, fisheries, and ranchers across the United States. For less than $10 per person per meal, Blue Apron delivers seasonal recipes along with pre-portioned ingredients that'll make delicious home-cooked meals in 40 minutes or less. And by shipping the exact amount of each ingredient that's required for the recipe, Blue Apron is reducing food waste. It also makes making those recipes really easy. You just open the package, dump it in, and move on. It's a piece of cake. Their freshness guarantee promises that every ingredient in their delivery arrives ready to cook, or they'll make it right. Blue Apron's mission is to make incredible home cooking accessible to everyone, and they deliver to 99% of the continental U.S. There's no weekly commitment, so you only get deliveries when you want them. You can drop in, take a week off, come back, all that kind of stuff. You can customize your recipes every week based on your dietary preferences. Choose from a variety of new recipes each week, or you can let Blue Apron's culinary team surprise you. Keep it fresh. Upcoming meals include warm smoked trout and asparagus salad with fingerling potatoes and garlic croutons. I love trout. Spiced zucchini enchiladas with creamy lime and tomato rice. We're eating that tomorrow night, by the way. Elote-style vegetable tostadas and summer squash poblano peppers and cilantro rice, and peach honey glazed chicken with mashed sweet potatoes, collard greens, and Thai basil. That could be your week's menu right there. Check out this week's menu and get 3 meals free with your first purchase and free shipping. All you have to do is go to blueapron.com/TNT. You're going to love how good it feels and tastes to create incredible home-cooked meals with Blue Apron. So don't wait. Go to blueapron.com/TNT. Blue Apron is a better way to cook. Father's Day is right around the corner, or so my children tell me. And so we thought maybe it would be a good time for us to tell you what to get me, or rather the dad in your life. Sorry. Joining us to offer his home theater wisdom is Scott Wilkinson. Sorry,
That's me.
Our resident home theater geek and editor of avsforum.com. How's it going, Scott?
Hey, doing good. How about yourself?
Doing awesome. It's great to have you back, and you're a busy guy. I think you're on like the screensavers this weekend. You're doing the tech guy.
I'm seriously busy this weekend. I got this show. I got the new screensavers on, recording Friday. I guess it airs on Saturday. And then I'm filling in for Leo on the Tech Guy, Saturday the 17th.
Right on. Well, we're going to pick your brain right now, if you don't mind. You have a few gift guides that you've posted on AVS Forum. So why don't we pick apart some of your favorites from the list? First, let's start off with a few things for the budget conscious. And honestly, in the home theater world, the term budget conscious is a pretty loose interpretation.
Well, when you take a look at that one as compared to the gift guide for lottery winners...
That's true. We'll get to that.
There is quite a difference.
Yes.
So we tried to, keep it easy, in the budget conscious category. We've got a couple of things in there that I think are pretty cool. The One More is the name of the company. Triple driver in-ear monitors, right? They're these little, I hate to call them earbuds because they're so much better than what you mostly call earbuds. In-ear monitors, or IEMs, is what we normally call them. And these guys really sound great. And for $100, okay, sure, you buy a phone, or you get a phone, or you get any kind of device, and you get a pair of earbuds. But they're crap compared to something like this.
Usually, yeah.
Usually, yeah. So this is a huge step up, and so I definitely recommend that if you want to spend $100. Now, a little bit more expensive, the Sony MDR 1000X headphones are noise-canceling headphones. Now, I myself have tried most of the noise-canceling headphones out there, and they're particularly useful for me when I'm flying. And I don't really like many Bose products, but the Bose Quiet Comfort noise-canceling headphones are an exception. I really love them.
I would agree, yeah.
Yeah, but I heard these at CES, and I was blown away. I was completely blown away. I thought, wow, those really cut the noise down. CES had a great demo place, too. They actually had built a sort of a mock-up of a little bit of an airline cabin where you could go in and sit out and listen to them. And they had recorded music of airline, noise.
Nice.
And they worked great. And they sounded great, too, on the music. So I haven't gotten a pair of these yet, but I am actually looking forward to do that. Servers, streamers, of course, there's so much streaming content on Netflix and Vudu and Amazon and everywhere. One of our favorites is the Roku Ultra. $110, has 4K and high dynamic range capabilities. Netflix, Vudu, Amazon all offer high dynamic range content, which looks so much better than quote-unquote standard dynamic range content if you have a high dynamic range capable TV, which is actually down the scroll a little bit to this TCL.
What TCL? What is it? I don't know if I've heard of the TCL brand before.
TCL brand is an interesting brand. It's a Chinese brand that has been making quite a few inroads into the U.S. market. In fact, they put their money where their mouth is. They actually bought the naming rights to the world-famous Chinese theater in Hollywood. It's now called the TCL Chinese Theater. Oh, okay. The one with the handprints and footprints in the cement out in the foyer. Originally was called Grauman's Chinese, and then it went back and forth. It got bought and sold, and now it's the TCL Chinese Theater, where there's a beautiful IMAX theater in there. But they make TVs, and they make some of the best low-cost TVs on the market. And this 55p 607, $600, high dynamic range, with both kinds of high dynamic range formats. One's called HDR10, one's called Dolby Vision. This one offers both. So it's and for $600 that's really hard to beat. Let's see, we have some speakers in there. We've got Emotiva, another great value brand. You could say bargain brand, but they really do offer phenomenal quality for the money. And here we have a pair of Air Motive B1 bookshelf speakers for $270 a pair, and a Boss X S10 subwoofer for $299, $300. So with those three speakers, the two bookshelves and the subwoofer, you would have some pretty amazing sound for like on the order of $500.
So let's say you are really budget conscious, like you don't have any money at all,
or much at all.
But like say that you, or maybe your dad doesn't need more stuff, but maybe needs some help setting up his home theater. Do you have some suggestions there, like to go in and say, like, you know, Dad, everything's a mess. You bought all this stuff and you don't know how to set it up. Do you have like guides on your site for that?
Well, we do have some guides for how to set stuff up, and we always look for more as well, or always looking to do more as well. I mean, there's a section on the site called How To, which includes, for example, 12 tips to tune up your TV. So that's very simple, and it really, the cover art there is a few different setup discs, and those cost $20-30. Mm-hmm. So, you know, if you want to give your dad something to help him set up his TV properly, you know, get him one of these discs.
Mm-hmm. It's a project.
Mm-hmm.
It's a project, and you could do it together, and that would be really great.
Well, I think, because, I mean, we had a new TV, and it's maybe like slightly off, and, you know, I think probably that everyone doesn't know, like, here's the distance your couch should be, and all that, and, you know, I kind of led you right into there, because I know you have some good guides on that.
We do. As a matter of fact, I just the other day posted a piece called Tips from THX, and it includes stuff like, where's the best place to put your TV? Where's the best place to put your speakers? Where's the best place to put your seat with respect to the speakers and the TV? So that's a useful little guide there for, in very general terms. It doesn't get super specific, but it does give you a lot of useful tips on sort of how to think about these things.
All right, so you've got this amazing TV that's capable of all of these things that my TV at home is not. For those who have a decked-out Blu-ray player that can handle the Ultra HD, you have a kind of a roundup of some standout titles to kind of show off that technology.
Yeah, we now have, you know, Blu-ray was the optical disc of choice for the last 10 years. Now it's Ultra HD Blu-ray with 4 times the pixel resolution and this high dynamic range, which I think is far more important than having more pixels, higher resolution on the screen. And our Ultra HD reviewer, Ralph Potts, put together a list of his favorite titles on Ultra HD Blu-ray. So if your dad has a TV, nice 4K TV with HDR capabilities and an Ultra HD Blu-ray player, which are now down in the $200 range, so it's not that expensive to get one. I recommend some of these titles. Planet Earth 2, for example, phenomenal. I use that in my TV reviews all the time because it just looks so stunning. It's so beautiful with rich colors, and you can see in the little picture there the deep black of space with the bright sun. That's the beauty of high dynamic ranges. You can see both of those at the same time. One of my favorite movies is called Billy Lynn's Long Halftime Walk, which was Ang Lee's latest movie. Megan, I know you actually liked the novel. Did you see the movie?
I haven't seen the movie. We talked about that last year, and I haven't. Did. Yeah, because you saw it before it came out, right? And, in VR. No, I don't. Where can I stream it, or do I still have to?
Well, I don't know about streaming, to tell you the truth, but it's certainly available on Ultra HD Blu-ray. And I would recommend, well, if you have the right TV for it, because this one is very special. Not only is it in high dynamic range, but it's also presented at a higher frame rate than virtually all other movies. All movies, almost all, are shot and presented at 24 frames per second. Okay, a movie consists of a series of still images that are shown to you in rapid succession, and your brain kind of stitches them together and says, oh, this is motion. This is smooth motion. But still, 24 frames per second is not that great. And so what Ang Lee did on this movie was he shot it at 120 frames per second, 5 times the normal rate. And on the Ultra HD Blu-ray, it's at 60 frames per second. And it just looks stunning. It's so crisp and clear and clean looking. Even the pans, you know, as the camera pans across or somebody runs through, you see so much more detail in that motion than you would at 24 frames per second. I really highly recommend it. And you in particular, you really liked the book, as I recall.
I did,
So-
yeah. And we talked about how the frame rate really speaks to the story. So I can't believe
It
I
really
forgot to watch
does.
that one.
So it's easily available on UHD Blu-ray now.
I'm afraid to like spoil my eyes once I see these things, because then I realize I'm gonna have to upgrade all my stuff at home, which is maybe where this next list comes into play. You got to write up possibly the best list of all, detailing a number of things that dads might expect if they first win the lottery, which is totally me.
Yeah, right.
What are your dream picks?
Well, I got to tell you, my dream pick for a television is from Sony. It's the Sony XBR 100Z9D, which is it's a 100-inch TV. I mean, we're getting into projector screen size territory here. 100-inch TV. It's a mere $60,000. But it provides a phenomenal picture. It's an LED illuminated LCD TV. It can reach peak luminance of, I think, 2,000 nits, which is more than most broadcast monitors can achieve. So it gets brighter than that. I mean, you could have a big old party with this TV in a brightly lit room, and it would be perfectly seeable and a wonderful picture. And very few TVs can claim that. So the XBR 100Z9 is a fabulous TV for $60,000.
There's that last part that kind of throws me off a little bit.
Better be fabulous.
Yeah.
It is. It's fabulous. Believe me, I've seen it. It's amazing. I can't fit it in my house.
Right.
And do people mount that on a wall ever, or is it really just?
They can. It can be, but a TV that large, you kind of have to build your house around it.
Yeah,
almost.
right. You put it in
so-
there before the walls go up.
Exactly. And then, you have some really good contractor secure it to the walls. You put in extra strong studs and whatever, you can do it. It's just going to be much more expensive. Even more expensive.
I think our 65 inches, that's enough. That's big enough for me.
That is the sweet spot. Most people top out at 65, and that seems to be the most popular screen size these days. And you can certainly get a lot of TVs for a lot less than that, and they're still really good. But, I was dreaming. What can I tell you?
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with a little dream. What about so this isn't on your list. I just saw this in the news today, and I was happy that you were going to be on because I could ask you about it. The C-Seed 262.
Oh, man. That thing just looks awesome.
It's 19-foot wide LED screen.
Yes, 19 foot wide. This is in the category of what's called direct LED or micro LED. Instead of an LCD TV where you have light passing through an LCD layer, or an OLED TV, which has its own self-emission characteristics. The actual screen emits its own red, green, and blue light. So does micro LED, but instead of using OLED material, it uses little tiny LEDs. So tiny, in fact, that they're only 1.2 millimeters apart. Wow. And so this is also the basis of the Sony Cletus Crystal LED integrated system. And Samsung introduced one at CinemaCon earlier this year called the Cinema Screen. And you can basically build it any size you want because it's mostly built out of tiles that you just put together like Legos.
Oh, interesting.
This one is, as you say, about, 20 feet wide or?
Yeah, right around there, 19-foot wide LED.
19-foot wide direct LED. It's 4,096 pixels across by 1,760 pixels up and down, which isn't the full 4K resolution, but they said, we wanted to, I actually called them and asked them about it. And they said, no, we wanted it to be the movie aspect ratio. We wanted it to be as wide and as tall as movies are. And that is an aspect ratio of 2.9 to 1, which is exactly what this is. So that's why they did it that way. Although, if you want to order one with the full 4K resolution,
yeah, I do.
Sure, they'll build you one.
Okay.
Now this one, the stock version is $539,000. And if you want it installed, that's another 40 grand.
Okay. All right. Well, now I'm back down to earth. Not that I thought this would be in my ballpark range.
But it's very interesting. It's so interesting.
I guess the question that I have about a TV that large is it better to have it like the expense of a TV that large, or is it better to have just like a really great projection system?
Well, that's a very good question. You could get a super great projection system for way less than that.
I would hope so.
Yeah, you can. I mean, even a digital cinema projector, the projector that they have at your local commercial cinema, is in the $250,000 range.
Oh, okay.
And that's going to light up a gigantic screen. Now, you need to figure in the cost of the screen, too, which is going to be in the 5 figures for a situation like that. But you're still nowhere near $500,000. The only drawback to a projector is that it won't get as bright. Not nearly as bright. Right. And unless you have a special kind of a screen called an ambient light rejecting screen, it won't look very good with the lights on. You have to really have the lights off. Now, you can get an ambient light rejecting screen, and it'll look a lot better with the lights on, but purist videophiles would prefer to watch a projector in the dark. I count myself among them, so I'm not trying to cast aspersions anywhere here. I really like watching in the dark, so that's what I do. But that's the primary drawback of projection.
Yeah. All right. Well, that makes sense. I don't know which direction I'm going to go, whether I'm going to go with the $500,000 TV or a projection, or just stick with my rear projection LCD 50-inch from 15 years ago.
Oh,
I just don't know what I'm going to do.
We'll upgrade you from that.
Probably.
I want to upgrade you from that. I'm now itching to get in there.
Oh man, I need to
help you get something a little more updated.
The problem is it keeps going. Like we're like, okay, we need to replace this, but it still works. It's 50 inches. It's not like it's a small TV.
No, that's true. That's true. Although, as Megan said, 65 is now sort of the new 50, shall we say?
All right.
Yeah,
all right.
it's true. Days. Yeah, you got to move that TV into the bedroom, and then you need a new TV for the living room. That's what we did.
Yep.
No TV's going in the bedroom.
Yes. Scott,
No.
I never asked your opinion because my dad, he has a guy, and he ended up getting me the new TV that I was looking for. I was going to ask you. Everyone said ask Scott, so we got a 65-inch Sony Bravia with some numbers at the end. It's an Android TV, and I love it. So don't tell me it's the wrong TV because it's already mounted on the wall.
No, Sony makes great TVs. Let me just say that right up front. They make really good TVs. I wouldn't be able to do an evaluation without knowing those numbers at the end, because the word Bravia is simply sort of their brand, sub-brand for TVs. Virtually all of their TVs are called Bravia. So if I knew the exact model number, I would know what the specific capabilities of that TV are. But I have to say, generally speaking, I love Sony TVs. I think they perform very well. Sony's got great engineering, and the video processing is generally top-notch. So I think you can't possibly have gone wrong.
Okay, I'll email you all those numbers at the end, and you can tell me if we did go wrong.
The point is, if it makes your heart happy,
it does.
That's the
and that's it, isn't it? Isn't that the bottom line? In fact, one of those tips from THX is, even if you're set up properly and you want to adjust certain things in order that you feel better about what you're doing, go for it. Yep. They're not doctrinaire about you must set it up this way and then don't deviate 1 millimeter. They say make it so that you're happy and that you're enjoying yourself. That's the key and the bottom line, and I have to agree.
Yeah, I would agree with that too. Scott Wilkinson, it's always a pleasure getting you on. Thank you for taking some time to join us today. Really
My pleasure. Thanks so much for inviting me.
And of course, you can find Scott on all over Twit this weekend with New Screensavers and the Tech Guy, and then avsforum.com.
And Home Theater
And don't
Geeks.
forget my podcast, Home Theater Geeks.
Of course. Home Theater Geeks as well. You're everywhere. Thank you again, Scott. We'll talk to you soon.
My pleasure. You bet. Bye-bye.
Have a good night. All right, feedback time. Leonard wrote in about an Amazon stat that I read during last week's discussion regarding Amazon's new low-cost Prime subscription. I got it all wrong. Leonard writes, I've heard Jason, thank you for the money transition, I've heard Jason on more than one occasion report that 70% of Amazon Prime members have a six-figure household income. But this is not the news story that is out there in the press. Quote, more than 70% of households with annual incomes topping $112,000 have a Prime membership, according to Deutsche Bank. He says, read this carefully, and it is apparent that the meaning is very different. Yeah, I got it twisted. I obviously interpreted that differently. My understanding was wrong. So it's that of the households earning $112,000 or more, 70% of those households are actually Prime members. Still, that's pretty darn impressive.
But yes, Prime members themselves aren't necessarily higher income.
Right. So there we go. Slap my hand
and thank you for listening. I would bet that I also make that mistake often. So we always thank people for pointing it out. If if you have the time, we know it's not your responsibility to point it out, but if you are. What usually happens to me when I'm listening to other podcasts, I'm yelling in the car and then I immediately forget. TNT's fan of the day is Thomas Maddock, who sent us what is likely a first for the segment, an audio file, not a voicemail, but an audio file. Since we have no video to show you while you listen to what Thomas has to say, we will also show the video of a hamster on a piano eating popcorn.
Hello, Jason and Megan. This is Tom Maddock, a longtime listener. How I watch TNT? Well, I listen to it using my AirPods, which I love, my iPhone 7 Plus. Usually I'm at work, at Walmart, waiting for the phone to ring. That's my job. But this week I'm on vacation listening to you guys. Keep up the good work. Sorry about the no picture, but I'm visually impaired, and sending a picture is quite hard, so I figured a word picture is better. Sorry it's not 1,000 words, but gotta keep it short.
I think we should play a little bit of the sound if we can now for Thomas.
Yeah, because he can't miss out on this music. The music is actually pretty hot.
I know this world is hard for you, and fools try to put you down.
Oh yeah.
But you just keep on eating that popcorn because you will always be the hamster.
On a piano, hamster on a piano. It's really a great video, and it's an hour long.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, Thomas. That is not Thomas's hamster, and it is not Thomas's piano, and it is not his popcorn.
It has nothing to do with Thomas, really.
Really. It has everything to do with Jason still maybe being on some meds and thinking it was a good idea to watch that video while we listen to Thomas's
might as well
audio file. Thank you, Thomas. Thank you for watching and listening. Show us how you watch TNT. Just record a video, take a picture, send an audio file. We want anything that shows us how you watch or listen to TNT. Post it on Instagram, Google+, Twitter, or Facebook. Use the hashtag HowIWatchTNT, and we will find it. So if you are a parent of a dog or a person, you know that one of the trickiest parts of the job is how to praise your pet or your child when they've done right and correct them when they've done wrong. Are you supposed to say good job? Do you give them a pat on the head or a dog treat, punishments, rewards, carrots, sticks? It's very confusing. Well, you will be happy to know that parents of robots feel your pain. OpenAI, the artificial intelligence nonprofit started by Elon Musk, just posted research on a new learning algorithm that uses small amounts of human feedback to teach a computer to interact usefully with real-world environments. So reinforcement learning is different than reward learning. And according to Dave Gershgorn at Quartz, this will help align robots with what humans think are correct and safe behaviors. Did that make sense?
Kind of. Positive reinforcement.
Well, feedback as opposed to rewards.
Right.
So
I would say that's very applicable to humans as well.
Yeah,
that
and dogs.
Makes a lot of sense. Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, but with dogs, like I'm okay to do the reward because then I get them to do the rollover thing, or the bag or shake the hand, and they do that, and it's a dog.
Well, yeah, that was other, like Microsoft's still saying like their AI they're still giving it rewards, still giving it dog treats, but some people say that just like petting your dog is better than giving it treats. But so they had this AI they were trying to teach it to like do a flip or something. So it had human feedback it was giving it feedback, and then the robot would actually have to anticipate what it thought the human wanted.
Okay.
And then that was how it was learning. So, I mean, that's sort of like a dog or a kid.
Yeah, definitely.
That's where they're hoping that like robots will, not just try to beat, like in a video game or something, like a racing game. They won't just try to race the other computer. They might try to figure out, like, is it better to go at this speed or is it better to go faster, which will be applicable to autonomous cars.
Although, to a certain degree, buried the lead because Malyuba, as it was called, reached a score of 999,900, which is the maximum capable score on Atari 2600 version of Miss Pac-Man.
That's Microsoft's AI, yes.
Yes.
They got there by rewards.
I guess they got there by rewards, but you know what? They got there.
They did. So this is also, it's key that it just depends. The algorithm is only good enough for the human evaluator's intuition about what looks right. So the idea is that, that you would want to have the good human, not the bad human.
Right.
So as we've discussed before, like robots are essentially good and humans, many of them are essentially bad.
Are robots essentially good?
Well, they're neutral.
Yeah, they are when we train them to be.
Mm-hmm. I think.
Could really go in any direction.
I know. It really, but yeah, they say learning from feedback does better than reinforcement learning, than the normal reward function.
Yeah, that makes sense to me.
Does Burke have something to say?
Burke thinks that by doing this, we will show them our weaknesses. I think your weaknesses, maybe.
Yeah. But
Burke.
by the way, like I've been using the example of a dog, but cats, you can't teach them anything.
No, you
There's
can't.
nothing.
Yeah.
Like cats
don't care.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
They really don't care.
Mm-mm.
TNT records live every Monday through now. Hamsters on a piano.
I know that if you're the parent, like how did that guy train the hamster on the piano with a treat?
I don't know if he
feedback.
trained the hamster. I think the hamster was there and he just said, "Here's some popcorn," and the hamster went, "Oh, I got to eat this," and then eventually fell off. Which is
the
what
hamster
happens later in the
couldn't.
video.
Oh, really? It falls off the piano?
Yeah.
Oh, that's
But
sad.
I think the hamster's okay because a second later the hamster's back there eating
or
popcorn.
Another hamster.
Maybe. I don't know. It's a video. It's an internet video. Let's not think too deeply into this. It's a classic, and you deserve to watch.
Mm-hmm.
TNT records live every Monday through Friday at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern, 2300 UTC at twit.tv/live. You can be part of the show by emailing us, tnt@twit.tv. Leave us a short voicemail at 260-TNT-SHOW, and find us on Twitter. We're at Tech News Today TV.
Share your thoughts on the stories we discuss in the TNT subreddit at technewstoday.reddit.com. Hey, you guys, you got to go there.
Hey.
I went there, and some of the stories were kind of old, I have to say. So get there. Get there. And you can find all the ways to subscribe to our show at twit.tv/TNT. And if you want to tweet at me about why twice in the show I said that humans might be essentially evil, I'm at Megan Maroney.
Did you see? Hamster just fell off the piano. But it's back. It's back now, so that's the magic of editing.
If you let your hamster fall off the piano, that's one reason why some humans are evil.
I think it just fell into his hand. Anyways, we actually don't know. I'm at Jason Howell. Thanks to our technical director, Brian Burnett. Thanks to Kevin, of course, for editing. Thanks to Burke for the words that he just took down. He didn't want people to see them anymore. And thanks to you for talking tech with us today. We'll see you all tomorrow. Bye, everybody.